Why, hello. Let's see. Now you may hear a background noise, and that's okay. That is the laundry machine. If you had never heard one, that's the laundry machine. Okay. Well, that's not going to be the main topic of today. So, I'm bringing you in to study with me. I am just going over previous information that I have studied, that I have written and prepared to just go over and study again. So, I'm just inviting you in to study with me, and we have 14 minutes left. All right, let's go for it. All right, so the first one is we're going to learn on development of grasp, okay? And that is the development for, as a child, when you're born, are the first steps to developing the grasp method, which is like when you use your hand to hold something. So at 5 months old, this is the youngest, and you start learning the ulnar palmar grasp. That is the most immature type of grasp. And then at 6 months, you learn the radial palmar grasp, okay? And this is just from like putting your hand on the floor and you grab the first thing you can. The ulnar palmar grasp is when you're on your pinky side. So when the baby at 5 months old, they rest their pinky, like the hand on the pinky side on the floor, and they're able to grab something from the pinky using their whole hand. That's the ulnar palmar grasp. Then it's the radial palmar grasp, okay? Which the radial is on the side where there's your thumb. And then there's the radial digital grasp, which is on the section where your thumb is, but you're starting to get it using your index and your thumb finger. So in that way. Then that's at 7 months, the radial digital grasp. Then we go into 9 months, and 9 months is the inferior pincer grasp, also known sometimes as the lateral or key pincer. And key pincer is kind of giving you the idea of how they're grabbing an item. And it's when you're holding a key, the way that you put your thumb and you rest it on the side of your index finger. That's like when you're holding a key. So that way is how the child should be able to grasp an item. Like if they're holding a key, you can hold any other, like a card or any other thing. At 12 months, they're getting a superior pincer grasp. Now, this one is also known as the neat pincer, fine pincer, tip to tip, pad to pad, okay? And this one is like when you're holding a marble and you're holding it on the very tip of your fingers. And that's using your index and your thumb. That would be the superior pincer grasp, okay? They're going from inferior to superior. And this is at 12 months when the child should be able to. Then we go into the 1 to 1.5 years old, and that's the palmar supinate grasp. The palmar supinate grasp, it's, let's say, the child can hold a chalk, okay? So you know how the chalks, there's like thick ones, and let's say that you're laying on the floor. So if you're laying on the floor and you hold a chalk with your entire palm, okay, and you want to like write on the floor and you want to on the thick side, you're holding it kind of like when you hold a cup, but imagine holding the chalk. So it's a little bit smaller. So your palm, you're creating like a fist in your hand, and it's smaller. So that will be the palmar supinate grasp, okay? And then we go into 2 to 3 year olds, and that's the digital pronate grasp. The digital pronate grasp is when you're holding, and let's say you're standing up. Think about it. Like if you're standing up and you bend down and you're holding the chalk, okay? You can't hold it like if you have your hand in a fist, because you would have to kind of squat, right? To write something on the floor. So imagine you're standing up, you bent down, you're holding the chalk. Now you have to hold it using your index finger and your thumb, kind of like your index and your middle finger, using that help. But now you're using your digits, okay? Not your entire palm, but maybe a couple of your digits, your thumb, to write something on the floor with that chalk, okay? So that is how we kind of get the idea. Then we have the 3.5 to 4 years old. This is the static tripod grasp. The static tripod is exactly like when you're holding a pen and you're starting to write on the on a paper, but your wrist doesn't move, okay? What actually moves is your entire shoulder, okay? Because you don't have that consistency of moving your wrist to write something so detailed, because you're not going into the details. You're at this age, you're 3.5 to about 4 years old, so you don't have the capacity to put in details. But using, grabbing an item or a pen or a marker as if you're gonna write with a pen, which you can grab it like that, but which you use your 3 fingers. You use your thumb, your index, and your middle finger. And you can grab a pen right now to kind of have an idea of how you're grabbing it. That's the grasp. But when you write, you don't use your wrist to detail a drawing. You're actually just using your entire arm, your whole shoulder to draw, okay? Because you don't have that capacity yet. But when we reach 4.5 to 6 years old, this is our top grasp, okay? It's called the dynamic tripod grasp. It's the most mature type of grasp, and that's where we get to when we are developing grasp. When we are able to now do the same thing, we're able to hold a marker, a pen, any, like a pencil with your 3 fingers. Sometimes we use 4, but it just depends on the person. We can use our thumb, our index, and our middle fingers. Sometimes even our ring finger. But let's say for this example, the 3 fingers. And you're able to hold the pen, and now we are using our wrist to kind of detail and start handwriting, Okay, so we can color within the lines without having to do big motions, okay? So this is where we would be able to kind of draw in a detailed form. And again, it's the most mature type of grasp. Another thing I want to add is at 3 to 4 years old, the child should be able to open and close and manipulate scissors. We're not going to go into detail manipulating because we don't have, mentally, we don't have that expertise yet. But we should be able to at least know how to open and close scissors and kind of use our wrist to just go around items. We're not going to cut very hard because that takes more technique and practice. But we should be able to not fight with the paper. We shouldn't be pushing the pressure of the scissors through in order for it to cut. We should be able to open and close the scissors and understand the patience that it takes when you are cutting a piece of paper. And lastly, we know that finger to palm translation, this is at 12 to 15 months. And this is kind of just being able to grab an item like a penny, and you can take it from your palm to the tip of your fingers without the help of your other hand. This is when you are able to do it with just one hand, and you grab a penny, a pencil, and you can grab it from a table or from a desk or from anywhere, and you can take it from your palm to the tip of your finger and back. Okay, it's called finger to palm translation. So I have another note here, and it says, by stabilizing the forearm, it may help the child work on distal digital movement. That's just a little tip that I wrote there. But yeah, those are the developments of grasp. And let's go into something else really quick. Okay, we're going to go into reflexes. I have 4 minutes left, but that's okay. I'll create another podcast, and we'll continue and see if it's working fine. I will also go back to these podcasts because it's going to be my study buddy. So it could be a study buddy for you, or even if you're not learning occupational therapy assistant, like you're not going for the license, it's still a great learning aspect. And if you have a child, there's a lot to learn from there, and you would have a lot of curiosity and kind of check your child, see where they're at, and what you can work on. So reflexes, we're going to start with rooting. Rooting is at 28 weeks, okay? The child could be up from 28 weeks, and it ends at 3 months. And this is a type of reflex, so you can understand the reflex is something that you do without your control, okay? A reflex comes naturally, and you have no control over. It just happens. So, with that said, rooting can happen for a child. It starts at 28 weeks and it ends at 3 months. After 3 months, you don't do this naturally anymore, okay? And this is something that comes natural. What happens in rooting is you touch the corner of the baby's mouth, okay? And the baby's going to move their head towards the stimulus, so that's towards the food. In this case, a bottle or a nipple, okay? And that allows the baby to search and locate the feeding source. Very interesting, right? After that comes the action the reflex that's called suck and swallow. Also, again, this starts at 28 weeks, but this one naturally ends at 2 to 5 months. Again, when we say 2 to 5 months, it's because the baby doesn't naturally do it out of reflex. If they do the suck and swallow motion, it's a learned transitioning. They have learned this task now. Okay, so 2 to 5 months, what they do is if you put the your index finger that's clean, inside the baby's mouth, just a little bit, they're going to start a sucking motion. And the reason for this is because it allows the baby for ingestion of their nourishments. And that's their survival mode. This is how they survive. They need to have these reflexes in order for a baby to survive. Otherwise, they're going to need outside help, such as like a GI tract or some other type of form to survive and to, feed and get nourished. So these are just natural reflexes that the baby has. Then we're going to go into traction. Traction starts at 28 weeks and it ends at 2 to 5 months. Now this one is, baby, they like to be swaddled, a lot of them, okay? They like to be in, how do you call it? In an egg form, right? Oh, that's the dryer, and we have 44 seconds. Okay, I'll be right back. See you on the next episode. And if you really like the information that you're learning here, just jump on to the next one. I'll be making the other one very, very soon. Thank you for listening. Bye, guys.